Hello and welcome to today's Pitch Deck Clinic, where we have the amazing Brody from Aksana. So Brody, tell us what Aksana does in 30 seconds or less.
All right. Axana, we believe, is the future of social media. We're looking to strengthen the mental well-being of people and also introduce a new platform that can encourage people to actually intentionally and purposefully share videos and pictures with the world.
Okay, so I have done social networks in the past. I'm slightly familiar with the problem space. It's definitely a go big or go home kind of thing, unlike, let's say, SeedLegals, which is revenue-based. Social network, you have to get to a critical mass. So let's now dive in. So thing one on the slide deck we're going to look at is, you know, the branding, the look and feel and so on. Looking at the slide deck, yours is one of the most beautiful slide decks I've ever seen. So it looks amazing. And, you know, since you're looking to build a social network, the designs here are nice. It's simple. It breathes. There are quite a few words on some pages. You've got a bit of stuff to get across. But, you know, as we go through it, you can see each page is beautifully, cleanly designed. You've got pictures of the app. You're showing me what you're building. You know, I'd probably have slightly fewer pictures on the screen and maybe not sideways because you're not letting me quite focus on one thing, but the fonts are great. The look and feel is really nice. I trust that you're going to build a great app from that. So the next thing is now the messaging and the proposition. So here you're trying to persuade me, the investor, that you're going to build a brand new social network. So of course I'm thinking a few things. Number one, social networks, they have huge exit values, right? So that's good. On the other hand, there are a few of them already. And also they, you know, start off with a grand vision, but then they get mired in, you know, ultimately the president misusing them and filled with spam and so on. So how do you solve that problem? Now, of course, you don't need to tell me, but I assume that since the proposition here is about, you know, mental health, a well-being social network, that's going to get teased out. But maybe tell us in a few seconds what the key secret sauce is, and let's see if it comes out in the proposition and messaging here.
Absolutely. So I guess, you know, as I've mentioned before, we are using technology that's just going to filter out just the malicious and the bad content online. And that could be, it could go as far as, you know, malware embedded inside ads. You know, we're trying to really protect our users and protect their user data.
Okay, let's now turn to the business model. So, you know, there's a fantastic ambition. It's good. You know, nobody's a huge fan of many of the aspects of existing social networks. What can we do to make that better? So can you deliver that goal? So let's look at the business model. So we know with social networks, you know, you need millions of users in order to be able to monetize it. Facebook, Twitter, and others, you know, lost millions for years before they became profitable. So what you're showing here is that, you know, beautiful hockey stick growth, the exponential curve. And of course, as the investor, the next question, which I'd probably be looking on the next slide, is how do you justify that? Because it's easy to have a model in Excel that goes up.
Yeah.
My question for you, and I would be looking for the answer on the next slide, which is some information that shows me how you're going to monetize it. And I think that's the missing link for me. So, you know, I would look to see you're going to run, you know, full screen ads, you're going to, you know, sell data or not sell data, something to back up those revenue numbers. Otherwise, they look just too much like a projection. So expect investors to deep dive on that. And I would think that you may need to beef up the slide deck from that, because what you're looking to do here is many startups, many slide decks are not hugely ambitious. I want to make a driver delivery thing. I'm going to start with Manchester and then I'm going to grow. It's like, great, it'll probably work, but it'll be modest. Here, you want to take over the world, and that means your bar is higher for justifying the things that you want to do. All right, let's now look to the valuation and the financials. So we'll keep going through the slide deck. You've got your competitor analysis. I would probably have put that slightly before the revenue, because then I keep everything related to valuation, financials, and so on together. I think it's a beautiful, visualization here. I'm not sure where I would probably be expecting to see the names of some of the social networks you've put on the previous page shown here, and how yours is different. It's this follower model, it's this moderation model, it's this friends model, something like that. Okay, so we now come to the team. Okay, so the team has come before some of the other valuation or financials, or maybe they're not there. Let's keep going. So this is beautiful. I love how you rate yourself, and I love how you have fun things. So all of this suggests to me, sometimes I see founders looking to do a social network, but they're like Harvard MBAs, and their slide deck is all of financials, but it's not leading me to think they're going to make a beautiful product. Here I'm thinking you're going to make a beautiful product, which is nice. You're hooking me with the very nice slides. So now we come to the projections. Okay, so you've got a sort of simple breakdown, but you're showing me that next year you're going to make $6 million. And the following year you're going to make 17. So you're going from sort of 0 to quite a lot in a year. And of course, if it's 6 million over next year, that means it's probably like 12 million by the end of the year, because it's sort of 0 at the beginning of the year. You definitely are going to have to work, by UK standards. Your startup might be typically looking for a few £100,000 revenue in the first year. If you have £1 million in the first year, that's definitely going to be higher than most. I think on a social network where you're normally going to be spending more and back-ending revenue later, you're definitely going to have to work on justifying that. Okay. All right. So the market share, or the size of the market, no one doubts the size of the social networking market. Of course, here your goal is to show how you're going to eat a sizable part of the market. And I think one of the key things missing in the slide deck for me is your go-to-market strategy. How are you going to acquire users? How is it going to be marketing? What's the shtick? So on some people who've watched Pitch Deck Clinic, they know me talking about the shtick. And I think when you've got an app that is in a competitive space, it needs some differentiator. So Quibi, for example, the late unlamented Quibi, the shtick was you could turn the app sideways and the video would morph from horizontal to vertical or vice versa. But that wasn't enough to save it. So here, everything needs to, I think what we need here is, in order to get PR and in order to get lots of people knowing about it, what would be some magic moment that goes beyond, the better world space? Now, you've described earlier the magic full screen view, and that may well be the shtick to develop. And then you might want to develop that further in the slide deck so it becomes a memorable moment for the investor. Okay, so getting on to the end, I think your slide deck has been picture perfect. What I love are founders who, of course, show the world that they're using SeedLegals. Shameless plug, which is, for investors, your round's going to be smooth. The founders are going to have great advice. The founders are going to know what they're doing, and the numbers will be right and everything will be efficient. So thank you for the SeedLegals plug at the end. So, it wraps up nicely. I think you've got a couple of the slides in a couple of the wrong order, right? Because you had me focused on the financials, then you got to team, then you got to ask, and now you back to the financials. So I'd move those in, and then your last slide is going to say exactly as I predicted. Nice one, which is I'm raising this on this, offering SEIS and EIS. So, slide deck looks awesome. Your goal is to get here, every slide deck has a story to it. So here the story is big ambition, taking over the world. That's fantastic. But you need to demonstrate how you're going to cross the believability gap between the vision, the spreadsheet projections, and what's delivered later. And because, the goals are very ambitious, that gap is bigger than many, and you're going to have to work even harder to cross that gap to woo your investors.
Yeah.
Any feedback? Any things that I didn't cover? Anything you'd like more?
I think you've actually covered everything perfectly. I think, to be honest with you, about the whole structure of the pitch deck, I was actually following, or trying my best, to put it in better words, trying to follow Guy Kawasaki's 10 slides pitch deck, you know, but I obviously had about 2 or 3 in each category that he had. But honestly, I think I've already taken out a lot in how I should structure my pitch deck, and how I can in future, you know, approach the VCs and angels of our world. And I think, you know, with like content that flows better to them, you know, not jumping from finances to the product and finances again.
Right.
But yeah, I've really taken quite a lot from you.
Okay, all right, thank you. And then I think I'll leave you with a couple of, you know, maybe things that I would look to see in the deck, which is one, a bit more about the app itself, because, you know, you've got ambition, then you've got financials, and the gap in the middle is sort of what's built and, you know, some designs and the social models. A bit more about how it works. And then I think clearly, how are you going to get the revenue? What ad formats? What is the revenue model, so that you would expect an investor to deep dive on that? And then I think also a little bit more about where you are in its progress and where the timeline is for rollout and so on. I think those are the key things. All right, that has been amazing. I love founders with serious ambition. I'm delighted to meet you in Johannesburg, in sunny Johannesburg. So fab, and it's a UK registered company and a UK funding round, which is brilliant. So Brody, it's been amazing talking. Thank you very much.
It's been amazing talking to you too. Thank you so much for your time.